We're the ones who dare to dream. We won't let anyone hold us back. We'll take the road, let's travel by and build our empire piece by piece. We've got our dreams and we've got a plan. We're not afraid to take a stand. We'll face the risks and embrace the fear, cause we know that success is near. There will be times when we'll fall down, but we'll get up and turn it around. We're entrepreneurs, we're not afraid to lose. We'll keep moving forward, we got nothing to prove.
I like the new intro. We have invested millions of dollars, I'm not joking, millions of dollars into this crack production team, outsourced it to a global entrepreneurial company, also known as me playing around with iMovie. But welcome to episode 2 of the entrepreneur's journey, because Joseph Campbell spoke about the hero's journey. This is the entrepreneur's journey, and I'm a Joseph too. And entrepreneurs are heroes, are they not, at the end of the day? People say entrepreneurs are masochists and have to endure tremendous amounts of pain. And maybe they get pleasure from pain, which at the end of the day is what a masochist is all about. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can absolutely have fun and make money and enjoy and do good, I might add. And someone who's going to be joining me today is my guest, Tania Bengtsson. Tania, this is AI. This is an AI version of you. What I have found is that AI really makes good-looking people look even more good-looking. And in the case of me, it's horrible. It's just horrible. I look like a trophy. My ears are too big. And I've never seen a version of me using AI that is anything other than humiliating, which is why they tell me that I have a face for radio. But that's another story for another day. It is January, and some people refer to January as dry January. I'm referring to January as why January, as in discover your why, as in being able to rediscover your why, your purpose, why you were put on this planet. And for me, this is my why statement. As a teacher, facilitator, and coach, I help high aspiring entrepreneurs, owners, and their leadership teams get unstuck, return to growth, and become forever changed. And helping me today on that journey is my guest, Tania Bengtsson. A little bit of background on her, and I decided as well that she should have her own walk-on music. So Tania, this is yours. Tania grew up in an entrepreneurial family and has spent her career helping companies grow. Out of college, she worked in television. After a quick stint working in front of the camera, she quickly realized there was more creativity behind it and started her first business, a media production company. Now, with many entrepreneurs, she grew to the point of this frustration, as Gino Wickman would have put it, which is hitting the ceiling. Nothing's working. She shut the company down after accepting an opportunity at an insurance and risk management services firm. And during her 15 years with that company, she became an owner and helped grow from $10 million to $30 million in revenue. It was at that company she discovered EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Tania's passion for the impact it had on the company led her to become a full-time implementer in 2019. She's a highly skilled implementer who pursues cutting-edge outcomes, has a flair for helping teams execute with excellence, and facilitates with candor, wit, and wisdom. She's passionate about helping leaders get more of what they want from their business. And if you're ready to get more from Tania, welcome to the show. Here she is.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Joseph.
Tania.
I think that everybody participating in this and watching might actually want the AI Tania to come back. I know I do.
I don't. I like the real deal.
Well, when it comes to authenticity, which is going to be something that we talk about, you can't fake it, right? You can't fake authenticity. And so there you go. I suppose maybe you could put some kind of a poll up to ask, who wore it better?
Well, listen, you are the authentically intelligent, and then we saw the artificially intelligent. But I can dive straight into an interesting question that jumps into my mind, which is we are faced with a bombardment and an overload of information, of data, of technology, of apps, of, we see automation, we see technology potentially replacing human beings. And so, what's an entrepreneur to do, and how should entrepreneurs be thinking of AI and technology when, let's be honest, EOS is all about humanity. It's all about taking that technology, taking that phone and putting it away, focusing on the whiteboard and really just focusing on this human energy as opposed to the artificial energy. So what are your thoughts on this whole kind of changing landscape?
I certainly don't think that AI is a replacement for people, for the humanity. But I put it on the issues list for every team. Are they using it to complement their role, their company? Because there are components of it that can help streamline our jobs. We can take something that would have used to take us a couple of hours and turn it into a handful of minutes. Like, why wouldn't we take advantage of that? Especially because, teams that come to us, they never say, hey, our revenue and our profit are out of control. We've got way too much. Our accountability is way too high and our people have plenty of time. Tania, can you help us? That's not the case. So anytime that we can find ways to harness new technology and new ways of doing things and give ourselves time back in the day to be able to elevate our ability as leaders to serve the company the way that it needs, and we're not holding it back, why not?
I love the idea of just the simplicity of why not? Why wouldn't you save time? Why wouldn't you figure out a better way to focus on the priorities of your business? Like when we talk about setting rocks, it's part of that. It's part of that methodology. What are the most important things, issues, opportunities that you must achieve, you must complete, you must solve over the next 90 days? And if it's interesting. I was just thinking, we talk about delegating and elevating to your unique ability. Why wouldn't you delegate to the machine as well? If you can delegate to humans, why not delegate to the machine, right?
Right. I mean, there are plenty of ways to delegate. Sometimes it's a stop doing list. Throw it in the trash. I'm going to delegate this to never doing it again because it doesn't create value. Delegate it to the technology, like you said, delegate it to people. But if we don't have enough time, it's a way of doing that. There are a couple of instances that I've run across where a company isn't able to use AI for legal or integrity reasons. As a matter of fact, I think that my husband is joining us in the audience today, my first husband, and his
and also your current husband, can we just clarify if he if he minds his P's and Q's, if he's if he doesn't come up with other comments like AI was fire, maybe yesterday's. But anyway, Brian, welcome.
That's funny. No, I introduce him as my first husband to keep him on his toes. You never know, right? But yeah, we've been married for 25 years.
Funnily enough, I've been married as well for 25 years to a different woman, I might add. But Brian said it's his favorite introduction. So there you go. It's just the three of us. It's a beautiful threesome here on the Entrepreneur's Journey, episode 2. Tania,
Wow.
I must say that I saw you delivering a session at what we call our QCE, our quarterly collaborative exchange. And I immediately reached out and I said, you've got to come on and the show, and we've got to talk. And so I'm going to take a little bit of a step back because I saw you presenting and how you delivered in a presentation style. But I want to know, like, what kind of a coach are you? What kind of a teacher, facilitator, and coach are you as an implementer?
Oh, that's a great question. I think 3 words that I would use to describe my style: fun, fierce, and impactful. So fun, I like to crack jokes. I like to keep people on their toes. I love the zingers. When it's humorous, not when it's sarcastic, right? Don't cross the line. But there's no reason we can't have fun and do the hard work together. The fierce piece is being fearless to ask the tough questions, because teams, they want to be pushed, they want more, and so you got to go there with them and for them. And that comes, component of that breakout that I presented was listening. That truly listening is hearing the energy in the room, what's not being spoken, and addressing it. Because teams' ability to solve their issues is directly related to their ability to achieve their vision. And so you got to go there. And that impactful is, asking great questions, helping them move forward, being that, that facilitator, teacher, coach, applying whatever role is needed in order for them to get whatever they define as growth, or whatever they define as where they want to go, help them achieve it, right? That's hugely impactful, not only to a leadership team, but everybody in the company.
I really love the fun, fierce, and impactful. I was thinking we might have to look for the alliterative third F, but as you know, when we're delivering 3 uniques and teaching that in marketing strategy, we talk about Southwest's 3 L's, which is low fares, loads of flights, and lots of fun. And but I love it: fun, fierce, and impactful. I'll tell you. I need to think of my 3, and but what I do say to my clients now is, I knew exactly what kind of coach I was going to be when I started coaching my 5-year-olds playing soccer, and I made those 5-year-olds cry, and they deserved it. And that's my little line. And then they look at me. Some are a little bit nervous, but what I realized is there's a lot of tough love. There's a lot, and I found in my first few clients that I started off a little bit more softer and a little bit more hesitant. Now I just pile into it. I say at least one thing in every session where I think I'm definitely getting fired. But so far, so good.
Well, I think that is, if we're not going there enough into that danger zone, to the point of making people really uncomfortable or on the verge of getting fired, are we going far enough? It's a really expensive day to have a leadership team, plus our fee, and all of their time and opportunity to be doing other things. Why wouldn't you be pushing them as hard as you possibly can? Not to the point of doing damage, of course not. But yeah, you should come up with your 3. It's easy, right? Like our 3 uniques. And there was a time where I had put together a different presentation, and it was still around IDSing, but it was the 3 F's of IDSing. It was the framework, the functionality, and the philosophy of great IDSing.
So yeah, I thought for a second you were going to say falafel. I don't know why, but it just was rolling off the tongue.
Right.
But yeah, I've got to think of my 3, and I will get back to you on that one. I will tell you though that Rob Myers says she is a great implementer in everything she said, and if Rob is a client, then that is the greatest endorsement you can ever want. So welcome.
He's my favorite client.
I bet you say that to all the clients, or no? No, I'm joking.
I tell my husband he's my favorite husband.
Well, I'll tell you, Rob, we're going to start to shift at some point. We're going to have the idea is to have on fellow implementers, but also clients as well as authors and thought leaders in the space. Rob adds she is feisty too. So fierce. How about fun, fierce, and feisty? Anyway, we'll leave it there with the three Fs. But really appreciate a client being here as well. It really is one of the most, I think, gratifying moments when you actually see how you can impact another life and a leadership team and another business. And I'll tell you, Tanya, for me, I actually it's still happening. It's a work in progress. But when you actually stop for a moment to think about the content and and the guide and and getting everything right, and you actually realize you're there to change lives, you're there to help a leadership team get what they want from their business. And if you aren't adding value, then you have not done your job. And that is truly, truly one of the most awesome and maybe even overwhelming responsibilities.
It is. It's I don't take it lightly, and I'm sure you've experienced this before. You don't just be like, oh, the session is over with and whew, like it's all like I carry that not too heavy, but heavy enough that I'm always processing, where didn't we go? What did I see? What follow up? What the debrief of also in that how can I create more from that intuition, something that was coming to me, but it didn't actually come out or happen. And it is that intuitive facilitation, making that more of the normal, simply by paying attention to it. But on the flip side of that is people don't come to us when everything is great. They're in pain. They're stuck, frustrated, and they're looking for that help. So I don't take that lightly. And you can feel the energy in the room to help them get unstuck is a lot of that impact, but also the in service of them. So it gets heavy, even though there's not many new business problems. They're all just, they're the same, right? Different levels, different dollar amounts, but there's nothing really new about business issues. I think that's what makes us really impactful, in that we've seen a lot of it. And even though we don't give the answers, that's not our job, is to give the answers, but to be that coach and to go, oh, I have experience with this. I've seen this before. I've seen teams handle this really well, or they ignored it for too long when disaster struck, right? So that's the power in what we bring with those sessions of experience, I think.
There's something like really powerful about that idea, which is you could be, it could be dismissive in a way to be able to say, hey, there are no new problems. Your problems are not unique. Your issues. I mean, it goes back to that idea. I remember at the beginning, that Gino goes and collects these 136 unique challenges, right? And every business is saying, well, you don't understand our business or our industry. We're unique, or our set of problems is completely unique. But then when you add that layer of empathy, because as we say, it almost looks like that flower behind you looks like a snowflake. We say our clients are snowflakes. We've never yet seen two scorecards that are exactly alike, or maybe two accountability charts that are exactly alike. And I think when you bring that pragmatism, there are no new, it's like we say in the agency world, there are no new ideas, right? There are no new problems. But when you apply that empathy and that care for the human, you end up with a beautiful, beautiful 1 + 1 = 3. And I think that's what you're alluding to.
Absolutely. That's certainly a component of it. Although you use the word empathy, and if anybody is familiar with StrengthsFinder, my empathy is dead last. Not to say that I'm not empathetic with my teams. You know, there's a ton of emotional intelligence with empathy, but I do believe that not getting sucked into all of the pain and the misery and being able to say, great, I hear you. It sucks. Now, what are we going to do about it? Right? Let's figure it out. And like you said, every company is different, every team is different. But yet they're not. If you manage people and you manage money, the issues really, they're the same. And that's what makes EOS so great. You apply the tools to each of the snowflakes, and what comes out of the meat grinder looks a little bit different.
So snowflake in, meat grinder out. I love it.
I'm not sure how I got there, but
it's transformative. Well, one of the ways that you do that is through rapport. And I know you wanted to chat a little bit about this idea of building trust and, you know, good old Lencioni. I love all of these models. Just set up a little bit about this idea of building and creating cohesive teams and what this this pyramid looks like, or this triangle looks like, from trust, building trust as the foundation all the way up.
sure. Yeah, it's companies can get great results by being the purple, the dysfunctional, but they're making it way too hard. By the way, that's a title of a book that I'm going to write someday, TM.
Which one? Making it too hard?
You're making it way too hard.
Love it.
So trust, you're either building it or eroding it, and you can make that really black and white. And teams that have that psychological safety to be able to not fear when they speak up, not fear when they question or when they disagree, you're going to get results so much easier simply by being the functional version of Lencioni's triangle. The trust, the healthy conflict, the commitment, accountability, you know, a team collectively focused on these things is you're not tap dancing around the egos and the bullshit. You are really, truly fighting for the company to win. And you're able to do it in a way that you feel like you belong and people have your back and you've got theirs. That the psychological safety in workplace that is created is so crucial for engagement, communication, mental health. It is crucial for retention and performance, right? We're creating that safety around the belonging and the lack of fear. We're hardwired for that need simply to survive. And so when we're creating it instead of eroding it, man, that's power and it's momentum.
I've been spending a fair amount of time over the last couple of weeks on learning and becoming much more comfortable with the whole essence of psychological safety and realizing that you can have high performance standards and a high level of psychological safety, being in that learning zone. You know, the ability to speak up, whether it's raising an issue and putting it on the issues list, whether it's entering the danger, whether it's being able to address the elephant in the room. But you know, Tanya, you said something, and I'm trying to synthesize the whole thing, which is, and I would, by the way, the book is amazing. I'm going to be the first. I'll be the first person to pre-order the book. But what I jotted down is this: I wrote down everything's a choice. Like everything you do is a choice, and I wrote down
my wrist.
Hmm?
I have it tattooed on my wrist. Let's see.
Oh, no way. Hold on. Let me give you there. I love
There,
it.
choices
Every
or
everything
choice.
is
If you're reading it really fast.
yeah. Everything is a choice. And actually, I was writing down, there's better, cheaper, faster, right? And so faster is AI. We've discussed that. Why wouldn't you if you can actually get to the same place a little bit quicker? Cheaper could be seen as certainly hiring a coach, hiring an implementer, but you used a different way to represent that or package that or merchandise that. You said, look, you're investing a fair amount. You may as well make sure that you get that bang for your buck, that you get the value, that you maximize the impact, right? Your third word. And then better, and to me, the better work product is going to come, the quality is going to come from that trust, that trust triangle. And and it comes down to this idea of why would you why you're making it harder. Why would you want to go through a much tougher journey, a much tougher process to get to the same place? Why not get to a better, a more value laden or more valuable outcome? It seems like a no-brainer when you put it that way, right?
It does seem like a no-brainer, but I've been part of organizations before that they talk a big game around our culture, our trust, high marks. It was artificial though, and it was a little bit more of that facade and artificial harmony, and it was a slog. There's no reason why, when we're spending this much time at work and with our coworkers, that we shouldn't be doing it right. But there are people out there that don't agree at all with the Lencioni functional version. They truly believe that in the dysfunctional, where there should be fear and there should be command and control, and this is just how we do it. That's a choice. It's not mine. Those aren't teams that I want to work with. They're not teams really that are our target market for EOS either, because if we're trying to build, in the process of that vision traction and build the healthy, they don't really want healthy. And right, you get the Heisman.
So I'm curious, one of the things, and it's certainly one of your superpowers, is this whole idea of being an active listener, or put differently, read the room. How do you pick up, and what do you do in a situation where you feel that the room is not delivering the honesty? When going back to also Lencioni's value trap, right? The idea of permission to play. Everybody's saying it. They always say it's like, a bunch of high schoolers talking about sex. You're all talking about it, but nobody's doing it, or at least doing it well. So in the case of these permission to play values like honesty and trust and integrity, how do you kind of call BS in a room when you see it not happening? How do you see it not happening?
So I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. What did you ask?
You know what? For you, you're going to get the rim shot.
Okay, yeah, I deserve that. Okay, so when we first met, there's 3 levels of listening. I think this will bring context, and then I'll answer your question. So take a left turn, then I'll take a right turn. 3 levels of listening. The first one was what I just demonstrated. I'm checked out. I'm thinking about something else. I'm not actively listening at all. Level 2 is better, which is I'm listening to respond. I'm listening to help solve. Waiting my turn. It's okay. But that level 3 listening is far more global. It is listening to what's not being said. It's the energy in the room. Is their behavior? Are they rolling their eyes? Are they crossing their arms? Are they leaning back? Are they visibly frustrated? That kind of energy, it is saying something. And the best way to address it is questions. So something like, do I have your permission to like ask what's going on here? Did I miss something? But it's entering that danger so that when we are facilitating, or when our teams are doing this in their meetings amongst themselves, we can be adaptable to what's needed. Instead of being right, we want to be effective. And that effectiveness is like that right there, that thing that's not being said, but it's being said, it without words, often is where the real issue lies, in helping teams to be able to articulate it, get it out of the way. Because if they're not addressed by a team, if you can't solve your issues, they become interpersonal shitstorms. And that is the dysfunctional version of Lencioni's triangle. So helping them overcome it, and the only way you can do it is by saying, there's not an elephant in the room that we're tap dancing around. There isn't a sacred anything that we're not willing to go there. This is standing in your way. How do we address it? Questions?
I have a question. Speaking of which, how do you treat, or what do you do when you have a team that is just super polite? They're all, they're all just this is what's known as the comfort zone, right? Performance standards. I think I'm answering it myself. Damn, you're good, Tania. This is the comfort zone, right? Performance standards are low, psychological safety is high. But in all seriousness, what do you do when there's a team that, as we say, just say it, but no one is saying it? Nobody wants to offend. Nobody wants to upset. How do you provoke a little bit? How do you get someone to kind of, take or make the first move?
Sure. I don't know that there's a one size fits all answer. And if anybody knows me, I'm about 5'1", and one size fits all is terrible for me. I think it depends on the team. Does the team understand where are they at in their journey, that actually having some of that healthy conflict, getting past being polite, is going to get them better results? So like what you just did, sharing some kind of a graph or a picture of, avoidance of any conflict or too polite, the artificial harmony. There's a time and a place for that, but Midwestern nice doesn't get it done. There's not a great place either for the destructive, abusive, loud, competitive, just to be right kind of environment. Somewhere in the middle is what we need, depending on what the issue is. So do they even know that they're holding themselves back? Well, if they are, if they know that already, the context might be in the form of a question. Does anyone else feel like we're not asking the tough questions? Like, I'll have teams sometimes write down, what are 3 questions you really want to ask? Or what are the 3 things that you really want to bring up, but you're afraid to do? I'm not going to make you share it. I'm not going to make you say it out loud unless you want to. I'm just going to have you write it down. You can take that piece of paper, crumple it up. You can eat it. You can throw it in the trash. You can set it on fire. At some point, I hope that you have enough bravery, courage, psychological safety, the environment where you will, because you're going to get more by solving those 3 things. So it's just an exercise to get them to start going, there are things, because there are the teams that are like, oh, we're healthy. There's no elephant in the room. It's all good. Everything is awesome. And it's not.
I got that
Um,
one. Everything is awesome. That's a Lego movie, right?
yes. Right. But it's not, it's the artificial harmony. So, I think that there's, having phrases, questions, knowledge, different approaches for wherever the team is at to help them see and to help them feel it. And I think we model it a lot. We ask the tough questions. We push. And so when they see like, hey, this is okay and we're all right, and oh my gosh, look what we just accomplished. Rob was up here earlier. His team, when they did their annual a few months back, I don't know, they had 187 issues on their issues list. 17% of numbers are made up on the spot, but it was a pretty decent number. They left with less than 12 issues because they were allowing the discomfort of being pushed, tough questions, and let's use the tools, and look what it got them, right? So us helping them see the power in it and having the confidence to use them more.
It's so funny because, we started off talking about artificial intelligence. We're now talking about artificial harmony. And I absolutely love that technique of 3 questions, write them down on 3 different pieces of paper, crumble them up, eat them if you have to. But amazing when you can get through all those questions and people can ask them and do it in a way where they're not intimidated, they're not lambasted, they're not shamed, they're not ostracized. If anything, they're celebrated and elevated because of the bravery and the courage. And I can't tell you, Tania, how often in the last week or so I've heard the words bravery and courage just coming up again and again and again. It's funny because it's just not things that you think that you need to be able to show up with, which is courage.
Yeah. I don't think people think about that. Like, hey, I'm going to be courageous today, right? Like, I don't think that that's part of our workplace mentality, we shouldn't have to be brave to get through our day, but we have to be brave to bring up the things that are holding us back. We've got an entire team of really smart people. Let's solve this together. Gino Wickman, a couple of years ago, had some content that he was delivering. And he was talking about love. And we typically don't associate the word love with the workplace because usually that becomes an HR nightmare, but it's not in that same context. It's more about, are you putting the love in it? Do we love our team, our company, and our people enough to tell them the truth? You can still do it respectfully. You can still do it in a kind way, but a half truth is a full lie. Do we love our people enough to tell them the truth? Get it out there, right? Solve it. High performers love to hear feedback. They want to get better. Do we love them enough to help them?
The crowd is going, you have literally, like the QCE, the crowd goes wild. I want to synthesize a few things that you said, which were fantastic. One is, and I read Gino's article where he said he just crossed over 2,000 sessions and 14,000 hours. And he said, there is only one thing. There is one thing and only one thing that is responsible for success or for great companies achieving great results and great success. He said, there isn't even a close second. And the number one thing is strong leadership team. Strong leadership team. Number one, nothing comes close. And then he came up with these 7 characteristics of a strong leadership team. And Tania, number 7 was love.
Mm-hmm.
Was
Yeah.
love. Gotta love. You know, got to say I love you more. And, to hell with HR. If you have a culture where you can actually say I love you and not, get sued for it. Maybe it's the wrong company. I don't know. I wouldn't be happy in a company. By the way,
I
the
mean,
next time you see me, if you say I love you, I'll say I love you back, and to hell with HR.
right. I love it. I love it. Well, isn't that the truth though? When you can talk about all of the other ingredients that you put in to bake that success cake. Right people, right seats. A lot of these they're very cerebral. They're choices. They're logic. Love is not. Love is an emotion. And John Gottman, amazing author. He has a ton of great books on trust, raising emotionally intelligent kids, ingredients for great marriages. But there's a 5-to-1 component of sharing true compliments with our spouses or with our people, the people that we lead, our leadership teams, the members of our team, giving them real and authentic feedback of positive praise. But in order to do the one challenge, giving them constructive feedback, 5-to-1 is the magic number in order to be building all of that trust. Many teams are lucky if they're at 3-to-1. And so asking yourself, I do this with my kids a lot. What is my ratio to nagging them? Did you empty the dishwasher? Did you do your chores? Is your homework done? Versus giving them positive praise on really proud of this because of that, really genuinely giving them that 5-to-1. It's hard as hell, but it's worth it. Put the love in it.
I'm loving all of this, and I'm thinking to myself, to people that are watching, I'm thinking, what's your ratio? What's your number? I actually said the other day, which is, imagine that everything out of your mouth is either going to be tagged positive, neutral, or negative, right? What does that ratio look like? It's almost like a different version of Net Promoter Score. It's a net ratio score. It's a net love score. But given those data points, that 5-to-1, hopefully not even aspirational, should be something we should all achieve. So what's your ratio? I'm almost thinking in my mind that the next time I'm facilitating a session, I'm going to make sure that maybe we have a little bit of a love fest, a little bit of a compliment session, where we can all just say something nice to maybe the person to our person to our right. Because as you know, we always start off with the brave one and we move to the left. Maybe we should go to the right and just go the opposite direction and just tell someone something nice. You know why? Because it's
Right?
the right thing to do.
And make it genuine, right?
Definitely.
Definitely make it genuine, not just like, hey, I think you're awesome, is not genuine and real enough.
But I do think you're awesome.
Oh, thank you. I mean, you might want to bring up AI Tania in just a second. No, but it's got to be that authentic and real.
For sure.
But yes, getting people to put the love in it. And I was just talking with my coach earlier today, because last year, my goal for the year was to significantly increase the quality and effectiveness of my facilitation. And I still because of the intentionality, I think it has an impact, not has. But that very thing, that 5-to-1, came to me in a moment of intuition yesterday in a session, but it didn't come out of my mouth. when I was briefing after the session, and I was like, okay, what could have been better? Where didn't we go? What do I need to follow up with? All that kind of stuff that we do. And I had an opportunity to give them real, authentic praise, and it stopped. And so I think that even from us, we have to drink that Kool-Aid as well. If we're putting the love in it, we've got to follow. Everybody should. It doesn't matter if I'm working with your company or in your company, for your company, right? We all should be doing that. Imagine what that does to our culture and workplace.
You see, I've been tainted by the scorecard tool, because I'm imagining that now as a scorecard measurable, which is, what is your opportunity to praise conversion rate? I feel like that needs to be sitting on a scorecard somewhere. Your opportunity to praise conversion rate. If you had 8 opportunities to praise authentically, how many of them did you convert? Clearly the measurable needs to be 100, don't you think? 100%.
Absolutely. I mean, there are times when you're like, okay, I have to remember this. I don't want to interrupt, just to give, get off track. But you're right. Like, what is our conversion? The more intentionality that we put to anything, is it how we're thinking, that positive intelligence, or is it trying to get better at something? Most likely, the better you're going to get at it. So if this is in your brain, and it will become an outcome if you have the discipline to really follow through with it.
So I wanted to ask you a very obvious question, and I know what the answer is, but I'm still asking it anyway, which is, do coaches need coaches?
Yes.
And why? Because I don't have one. I need a coach, I'm realizing now.
So every leader should have a peer group, a coach, and an operating system. Aren't we leaders? You could argue that the implementer community could be a peer group. You could argue there are plenty of them out there. I'm involved in one. We have REF, stands for Renaissance Executive Forums, the largest chapter of REF in the United States is here in Northern Indiana. And they serve over 150 business leaders across the region in their peer groups. And it's impactful. Why wouldn't we need coaches? It's kind of like the cobbler whose kids don't have shoes.
The cobblers, yeah.
Right. Hopefully the analogy is relevant, but you get the point where anybody who wants to get better at something, Michael Jordan, you could argue, was one of the best. He was the GOAT, greatest of all time. Or if you want to say it's LeBron James, or you want like whatever sports figure, they all have coaches, and they have coaches that are outside of their team's head coach, or offensive coordinators, or defense, or whatever, right? They actually employ their own coaches with their own money because they didn't get to be the best like this, right? They worked, and they have somebody always pushing them, challenging them, and they're always having something to work on. So yeah, we all should have coaches. I was going to say,
you say that again?
I have a 15-year-old daughter who does not appreciate her life coach, her mom coach, right?
I thought you were going to say your coach is your 15-year-old daughter. But,
oh my God, watch out. But you get the point, right? My kids feel the impact of the work that I do because I show up pushing them, saying things like, listen, I am not raising 15 and 12 and 10-year-olds. I'm raising adults. And when it's not good enough, you're going to get challenged. And when you're really good, you can still be challenged. And of course, right, the 5 to 1, put the love in it, got to praise.
There's a brilliant quote from Mark Twain that talks about. I'm trying to find it here for you, but it just makes me think of this conversation. This is the quote: "When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much the old man had learned in 7 years."
It's brilliant.
Isn't it great? Tanya,
Mhm.
what have you learned? I mean, you became an implementer, I think it was in 2019. I think there was something that happened in 2020. I just can't quite put my finger on it as well. That might have made things a little bit more interesting. But here you are, and it's 2024, so you're coming up, I guess, on you, if my math is correct, your 5-year anniversary. And what have you learned during these 5 years about yourself, let alone coaching in general?
What have I learned about myself? Well, one of the big things that I'll share is before I became an implementer, I had worked with a coach and I had created my why. You shared yours. And it is take impeccable care of my health, show up authentically, and make a significant impact. And one thing that I learned about myself is that at the time when that was created, it was aspirational. I was doing some of it, but I wasn't really truly living it like I am today, and how true it still remains. Um, I've learned a lot about people, the human brain, how we're hardwired, everything from emotions to the dynamics to even our hormones, because there's a ton of brain science and just how we're hardwired that's built into uh, understanding teams and people and learning that and understanding the components of what make us beautifully flawed, not to um, blame or shame anybody, but simply calling it out, normalizing it and saying, listen, this is a very real phenomena, but it's not, you don't have to let it stand in your way. You simply need to understand it. I think that the humanity piece, and getting back to the empathy, at one point in time, I had celebrated my lack of empathy, so I didn't get sucked in, right? And I could kind of rise above to continue to move forward. But then there was a time I was like, maybe that's flawed, and too much empathy is not a bad thing as long as it's directed in the most constructive way. And so I think those are my three things. It was my why, it was the people, and then empathy.
I was thinking, I wonder if I could tell you what I've learned about myself, but I'm still early enough in the process that I feel that in a way what I've learned about myself is to be able to almost volunteer that I need more time and I want more time. And that is a learning in of itself, right? I used to be the person that you'd ask me a question and I would give you an answer, even if I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, just because I felt that you needed an answer from me. And if I didn't give you that answer, then I would be, it's that imposter syndrome. I would be found lacking or wanting. I didn't have the confidence, perhaps, or just the self-confidence to say, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll get back to you on that one. That's a good question. I don't have an answer for you right now. And I think I'm learning that. I'm learning that about myself. What I have learned already, though, is you talk about, and this is probably I'll lob it back to you to have the final word in a moment. This idea of showing up as your authentic self. I've found, for example, and I alluded to it earlier, that I started a little tentative and I started a little bit too kind. And now I'm just off the bat, I'm just going to be me. I'm going to give you tough love. but it's love first, tough love second. And I do it because I care, and I do it because I genuinely want to help you. And I'm not doing it for the sake of doing it or being provocative or trying to get a rise or a reaction. And then another part of it is this idea of of trusting yourself. And I've noticed that when if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, Tanya, it's a duck. When you see someone acting badly, when you see someone and you need to be able to call, you see, I can check myself before I wreck myself. What I meant to say was bullshit. But just call it out. If we just say it open and honest, we're hypocrites if we can't just say it. So I'm still learning about myself. But I like what I'm seeing, and I like this journey. I like this road and this discovery.
And I think that's going to make you so much more successful than you've already been. The journey through life, we should never stop learning and growing and figuring out better and new ways. Then we're not adapting. And so I think that that's an incredibly important component of us as human beings. So yeah, that showing up piece is feeling comfortable in our skin, and that imposter syndrome. I think we discount how much everybody else feels that same thing. I mean, vulnerability is a word that I have a hard time spelling, let alone actually showing it. And it's certainly a place where I want to have it feel more authentic. But having the right answer, this comes from Keith Cunningham, having the right answer is smart. Having a great question is genius. Going back to the way that we were educated, you got an A on a test for having the right answer, right? Did you memorize it? Do you have the right answer? That doesn't work in business. It doesn't work on teams, because there isn't anybody in a business or on a team that has all the answers. We don't. So instead of being right and having the answer, have a great question. It is so much more impactful, and because we can't know it all.
You spoke about not being able to spell the word vulnerability, and earlier you and I shared a moment because I was unable to spell Bengtsson, but I got better at it. You see, everyone deserves a chance, a second, and in my case, a third, a fourth, and a fifth chance to get it right. If you want help getting everything that you want from your business, and I often say this to people, which is, don't think for 1 second you don't deserve everything. You deserve it if you want it, and you don't feel you deserve it. Then you need to talk to Tanya, and you need to talk to me. We will come in and separately, and maybe Brian will come in as well and help you on your journey to vision, attraction, healthy. This is Tanya's microsite, and if you want to contact each of us, we're very contactable. Those are our email addresses, and if you want to see where you are on the journey, take the organizational checkup. Actually, go and hang out on eosworldwide.com. There's so much value. There's so much content, etc. Tanya, I want to give you the last word. First of all, thank you for swinging by. You and I have just met, but we'll see each other soon in person, I hope. And we may or may not tell each other we love each other. Maybe we'll say we hate each other, but I'm pretty sure we'll say we love each other.
I'm sure there's a 4-letter word in there somewhere, and I'll let you guess which one it'll be.
I'm going with the L one. I'm going with loads of flights, lots of fun, and low fares, and impact, and what else? I'm going with impact, and I'm going through, what's the other one for you as well? Fun, fierce, and impactful. That's how I feel the last hour has been. But Tania, I want to make sure that the last word is yours. What advice would you give entrepreneurs, business owners, and their leadership teams that are stuck right now?
Get help. Find what works for you. If it's an operating system, peer group, coach, all of the above. Don't stay stuck. There are resources out there, great books, great other thought leaders, but don't just sit in the pain. There is help and support out there.
I thought an absolutely brilliant line from you earlier was peer group, coach, and an operating system. I've certainly been talking about the operating system, but I hadn't quite been able to articulate the power of a peer group, of community, and of course, the most important one that we've discussed today, which is a coach. So Tania, thank you for being a little bit of a coach to me today. I have learned, I have lived, and I have loved. And we will see you soon, episode 3 of the Entrepreneur's Journey. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks so
Tania.
much for having me. I appreciate it.